So the cost of living crisis is heating up as Liz Truss has just hit the self-destruct button on the UK economy. We've got people having to choose between heating and eating. We've got parents even reusing nappies. And as if that's not bad enough, couples that have actually split up are having to live together, and nobody would wish that on anyone. So look, the cost of living crisis is really starting to bite. Inflation isn't getting any lower, and the IMF have warned rising prices will unfortunately be worse in the UK. So with that all in mind, in today's video, I thought we'd talk about 13 different ways that you can actually look to save money quickly, but more specifically, save up to potentially £5,000 in the next 12 months by using something called the rule of £13.69. Now, let me start off by saying it's usually the small things added up over time that make the biggest difference. And these savings tips that I'm about to share with you guys aren't anything extreme. I'm not going to tell you to go and sell your car or sell your belongings. And instead, what we're going to talk about is some of perhaps the behavioral things that you could look to change within your life, make small tweaks and adjustments in order to save £13.69 per day. So let's get into it by talking about the three biggest expense categories that most households have, which is transport, consumables, and household costs. So let's start off with consumables. The first savings tip being buy bigger at the supermarket. There is a concept called economies of scale, whereby in traditional manufacturing, the more you produce of something, the cheaper it becomes to make per unit. Kind of same methodology goes for buying products in a supermarket, whereby the bigger the metric unit of the product which you buy, typically it becomes cheaper than that of its relatively smaller counterpart. Let me bring this to life with a bottle of ketchup. You can buy a standard 435 gram bottle for £2.80 in Asda, or alternatively you can buy the large 1.35 kilogram bottle for £4.50. Now when you look at this at first glance, the initial response that most people have is, well, I'm not spending £4.50 odd in my weekly shop just on a bottle of ketchup, and because of that I'll go for the smaller and cheaper equivalent instead. But actually the bigger bottle is 48% cheaper per gram of ketchup. In practical terms, let's say that you only bought the small bottles of ketchup and you were to buy one bottle of ketchup per month. Over the course of a year, that would cost you £33.60. However, to get the same equivalent amount of ketchup, if you were to buy the bigger bottle instead, it would only actually cost you £18 per year. Now, whilst that might only be a small saving of £15 over the course of a year, if you apply that same mindset to every single item that you buy in your food shop and buy bigger rather than buy twice, I pretty much can guarantee you'll end up saving potentially hundreds of pounds a year just from your weekly food shop. The second saving tip is to buy unbranded products. Now let me be honest guys, I'm a bit of a Walker's crisp snob, but I'm sure many of you guys have probably got your own preferences and branded preferences on some of the products that you buy too. But let me just say this, there's absolutely no harm whatsoever adding a few of the unbranded items to your weekly food shop in order to save a few extra pennies. There is literally nothing wrong with the 40p Asda Essentials garlic bread, but you do also have the option to spend £2.50 on a Chicago Town garlic bread instead. Now I personally opt for the 40p one, but I bet they both taste probably the same. Yet I've just saved £2.10 on one single item. Now I know that some people have had a moan about the yellow packaging feeling slightly embarrassing, but let's be honest guys, if it's going to save you a few extra quid on your weekly food shop, then who actually gives a f***? So don't be ashamed of using the unbranded products because there are some pretty decent alternatives out there. The third saving tip is to use coupons. Now coupons are great for pretty much everything. If you want to take your partner out for dinner, well go and find a coupon for one of the local pubs within your area. Perhaps if you're doing some online shopping, pretty much on every single website for new signups you can get usually about a 10% discount, and if you've already used the sign up, just use the new email. Probably shouldn't say that, but let's be honest, we've all done it at one point in time. Even if you're down the supermarket like Asda, just use the Asda Rewards app in order to get a few quid back on your shopping every couple of weeks. And no, you guys can't use that screenshot of the £6 Asda coupon because I used it on my own weekly shop last week, but nonetheless, you get the point. So spend a few extra minutes before you make a purchase to look for a coupon because you might go on to save 10, 20 or 30%, which is definitely worth it. The fourth money saving tip is to reduce the number of subscriptions. It's probably an obvious one, but monthly subscriptions are really hurting your finances. Why? Because they're what I refer to as the silent killers. They just come out of your bank account every single month and you probably don't even realize it. Now, don't get me wrong, not all subscriptions are bad. If going to the gym keeps you fit and healthy, then obviously keep keep your gym membership. Likewise, if you love listening to music, there's nothing wrong with having a Spotify subscription. But if you do have multiple subscriptions to things like Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus, Sky Sports, Apple TV, and Hulu, and that's just a handful of your TV streaming services subscriptions before we even get onto things like HelloFresh or perhaps even Dollar Shave Club. So what I would propose is that you probably have no more than 3 monthly subscription products a month. And I guarantee that you'll have more money that you never thought that you had. So that's the consumable, so now let's dive into the household expenses. Starting off with water restriction valves, which are pretty much what they say they are. They actually restrict 1/3 of the water flow from your taps and showers. And according to watts.com, that could save you between about $50 to $150 on your water bills per year, which is of course quite the saving. Now, you might of course go on to spend a few quid up front in order to install these valves, which are very easy to do, they just pop on. But once you've done that, of course, you pretty much have quite a fast payback period in terms of the money spent versus the money that you're getting to save moving forwards. Saving tip number 6 is to use low wattage bulbs. Now, of course, it's an expense up front in order to install LED bulbs throughout your property, but again, it's got a payback period that will save you money in the future. Switching over a light bulb is so quick and easy to do, and according to witch.com, you could actually save up to £232 a year just on your energy bills alone. And of course, that's a huge saving considering how expensive energy bills are becoming. Saving tip number 7 is to turn off electricals at the wall. Now, don't get me wrong, this is one of the more annoying habits to adopt if you don't already do it. Like, nobody wants to crawl down the back of the TV in order to switch the plug off at the wall, but if you want to save a few extra pennies, then it might be something that you want to consider. Now, the reason why you want to flick the switches off at the wall is because of something called phantom energy. And that's because when devices are plugged in, they're still actually using energy despite the fact that you might not be using them. The TV, of course, is a prime example because it's on standby 24/7, 365, but you're obviously not actually watching your television 24/7, 365. Now, apparently, if you do go around your household switching off all your electrics, then actually you could save yourself potentially up to about 10% per year on your energy bills. So again, they're more savings, which we're certainly all going to need. Tip number 8 is to turn your heating down. Now, don't get me wrong, when we're at the point where people are either choosing between heating and eating, obviously turning the heating down might not just be an option for the people that can't afford to put the heating on altogether. But if you are putting the heating on and you're still looking to save some cash, reducing the temperature on your heating by just 1 degree can save you an absolute ton of money. You'll barely notice the difference in temperature, but what you will notice is the savings on your energy bills, which apparently could be upwards of 13%. And with an expensive winter ahead, just turning that temperature down could just save you quite a little bit of money. So that's the household activity, and now let's dive into transportation costs. So tip number 9 is to drive economically. It's probably not what any of you petrol heads wanted to hear, but if you do have a heavy right foot, then it's certainly a habit that you're going to want to look to change. So when you're driving, change it through the gears fast and keep your revs as low as possible. Try not to accelerate hard and brake late. Try and drive at a steady speed, which will optimize your miles per gallon that you're getting. And of course, if you've got a car that offers something like an eco mode, then be sure to whack it in that every time that you turn it on. Some people claim, God knows whether this is true or not, but you could possibly save up to 40% on fuel costs just by driving more efficiently. And when the pump price is at nearly 2 quid a litre still, well, 40% saving is obviously a very decent saving to make. Saving tip number 10 is to pump up your car tyres. Sounds mad, but if your tyres are underinflated, it could cost you a significant amount of money over the course of a year. Because when we're talking about small things adding up to make a big difference, this is certainly another one of those things. Because if your car tyres are just 5 psi underinflated, your fuel consumption can actually increase by 10%. So get your car down to the local garage, pay your £1 and get that air pumped into your tyres in order to get to an optimal level. And then finally, some bonus tips in order to save a little bit of extra money. Let's talk about finance with tip number 11, which is smart credit card use. It's a contentious one, but credit cards shouldn't be used for the credit facility. Instead, the smart use of credit cards should be for their rewards facilities. Now, for me personally, I use the British Airways American Express card. It's got no monthly fee, and I get 1 Avios point for every £1 I spend on the card. Now, these Avios points, which I've collected over time, all 82,000 of them, can be used for things like flights, hotels, and all things travel. Now, to give you guys some numbers, a return flight from London to Amsterdam is actually 19,500 points. So as of right now, I could get roughly 4 return flights to Europe for absolutely free. And you can do certain things like credit card hacking in order to optimize the points that you have. Because I certainly haven't spent £82,000 worth on the card, and in actual fact, I've used sign-up bonuses like the Gold American Express sign-up bonus, where you actually get 30,000 points if you spend £3,000 on a card within the first 12 months. However, because there's a fee after that 12-month period has expired, you then just cancel the card and move on to the next one. And if you do want an extra bonus, then I'll leave a link down in the description below, where if you sign up, you can get up to 8,000 free Avios points in order to get you started. Saving tip number 12 is to switch bank accounts. With the financial services landscape becoming ever more competitive with the rise of fintechs, some banks are literally handing out free money in order to attract new customers. One of the best ones which I've seen recently is from NatWest, who are offering £175 from just opening an account, depositing 1,250 quid, and simply logging into the mobile app. Do all of that and you'll be £175 richer straight away. Or if you don't want to use NatWest, I'll also leave a link to Monzo down in the description below, where you can simply get free £5 if you simply just open an account with them. So there's 180 quid in free money just from opening 2 bank accounts. And then 13th and finally, we've got make use of high interest accounts. Now obviously with the Bank of England base rate continuing to rise, those interest rates will also be passed on to savers, or in some degree anyway. So this should actually be a better time for some of the people who have lots of cash savings that have been earning them absolutely diddly squatting interest over the past few years. Some offering upwards of 5% interest on bank accounts, with the likes of Barclays, the only downside being that you can only actually put in £5,000 in total. So if you are looking to follow that rule of £13.69, if you can save £13.69 per day, you'll have that Barclays bank account filled by this time next year. So I think with all of these things combined, along with a bit of a mindset shift on how we treat and look after our money, I think saving £13.69 per day can certainly be achievable. So it's probably time to tighten your belts, cut back on those needless expenses, and your future self will thank you for it.